Once upon a time, in a town cradled by golden fields and flanked by snowy mountain peaks, a gentle hush fell as the sun slipped behind the hills. Here, in a modest house with a porch that creaked in the evening breeze, lived a girl named Maya. At 12 years old, her heart brimmed with curiosity, and her mind overflowed with questions that fluttered like butterflies, never quite settling for long. Maya was proud to be American. She recited the Pledge of Allegiance at school, wore red, white, and blue on holidays, and watched fireworks bloom in July skies. Yet, beneath her pride, a question drifted in her thoughts, a question none of her teachers or friends seemed to answer just right. One afternoon, as the scent of baking bread mingled with the mountain air, Maya found herself sitting beside her grandmother in the quilt room. Sunlight danced through the window, painting patterns on the wooden floor. Her grandmother, known to all as Nana, was a quilt maker, a creator of warmth and stories, her hands forever busy, her eyes twinkling with secrets of the past. "Grandma," Maya began, her voice tinged with uncertainty, "what is America really? Is it a place, a people, or just the flag?" Nana paused in her stitching, the needle poised above a patch of fabric. She looked at Maya with a knowing smile, one that seemed as old as the hills themselves. "Let me show you," she said softly, her voice as warm as a summer breeze. That night, when the stars pricked the velvet sky, and the house was quiet, save for the ticking of the old clock, Nana summoned Maya to the attic. Together, they climbed the narrow stairs, their shadows flickering along the walls. Nana reached for an ancient chest, its hinges creaking as she opened it. Inside, nestled among the lavender sachets and cedarwood, lay a quilt unlike any Maya had ever seen. It was a patchwork flag, red, white, and blue. Ooh, yes, but so much more. Each square was stitched from a different cloth, embroidered with symbols, names, and memories. Some patches shimmered with silken threads, others were faded and worn, but all were rich with stories. "This," Nana whispered, unfolding the quilt with reverence, "is our flag." Maya blinked in surprise. "But it's not like the flag at school," she said, running her fingers over the fabric. "There are no stars, no stripes, just patches, and so many colors." Nana's eyes sparkled. "No," she agreed. "This one tells stories. Each patch is a piece of someone's journey, a memory, a sacrifice, a dream." She pointed to a square of denim, its edges frayed but sturdy. "This came from your great-grandfather's jeans," she said. "He wore them when he worked on the Transcontinental Railroad, laying tracks across the wild country. He came from China, chasing the promise of a new life, and helped tie this land together, one rail at a time." Maya studied the patch, imagining a young man with a sunburned face and calloused hands, hammering spikes into the earth beneath a vast sky. Nana's fingers moved to a scrap of white cotton, embroidered with tiny music notes. "This is from your Auntie Rosa's choir dress," she explained. "She sang gospel songs during marches for civil rights, lifting her voice for justice and hope. She believed that this country could be better, and she sang until her voice was hoarse, marching for the dream that all people might be free." A green patch caught Maya's eye, deep and bold, with the faint outline of a military insignia. "This one belonged to your uncle," Nana said gently. "He wore that uniform while serving overseas. He fought not just for land, but for the idea of America, the hope that we could always become something greater." As Nana guided her through the feuille quilt, Maya saw patches from every corner of her family's story. There were swatches of plaid from a farmer's shirt, worn through seasons of planting and harvest. A piece of a soccer jersey, stained with grass and triumph, from a cousin who played for the national team. A bit of lace from a teacher's collar who taught generations of children to read and dream. There was a fragment of silk from a sari, brought from India by a neighbor who opened the town's first spice shop. A patterned blue fabric from a Somali refugee who taught Maya's mother how to braid her hair. A faded red bandana from a cowboy who once rode the open range, and a strip of batik from a woman who painted murals on downtown walls. Each patch told a story of immigrants and pioneers, freedom fighters and artists, athletes and teachers, dreamers and doers. People from every background, every faith, every language, who, through courage and kindness, made this country home. Maya's heart swelled as she traced the seams, her imagination weaving together the faces and voices behind every square. She saw her family's journey, and the journeys of countless others, all stitched side by side. It's like America is everyone, Maya whispered, wonder and understanding dawning in her eyes. Nana nodded, her smile gentle and proud. Yes, my dear. America's tasiki is a patchwork. Not perfect, never finished, but held together by hopes, stitched with sacrifice, and warmed by unity. Every person, every story, adds a new piece to the quilt. That night, Maya snuggled beneath the patchwork flag, the weight of its stories settling around her like a gentle embrace. As she drifted into sleep, she dreamed not of flags waving in the wind, but of people, of hands clasped in friendship, voices raised in song, and stories shared around tables and campfires. She dreamed of a nation not just built, but constantly rebuilt, by the hope and effort of its people. In her dream, the quilt grew larger, patch by patch. New squares were added, a golden square from a beekeeper who shared honey at the farmer's market, a bold orange from a wildfire fighter's jacket, a strip of blue from a nurse's scrubs. Each addition made the quilt warmer, stronger, more beautiful. She saw children stitching their own patches, drawing rainbows, painting hearts, sewing together fabric from places far and near. Elders passed down stories, their voices echoing with wisdom, while newcomers brought fresh colors and patterns, weaving their hopes into the fabric. Sometimes the quilt tore, a seam ripped by hardship, a patch frayed by disagreement. But always, hands reached out to mend it. Neighbors stitched rifts closed with threads of understanding and compassion, patching wounds with forgiveness and love. Maya's dream carried her across fields and cities, mountains and rivers. She saw the patchwork flag flutter above schools, town halls, and homes, a symbol not just of unity, but of possibility. A reminder that America was always becoming, always growing. And when she awoke, sunlight streaming through her window, Maya felt the quilt's warmth linger. She knew then what America truly was. Not a perfect place, nor a simple flag, but a living story, crafted by millions of hands, shaped by countless dreams. As the days passed, Maya carried the lesson of the patchwork flag with her. She listened more closely to the stories of those around her. The shopkeeper with an accent, the neighbor who baked bread from a recipe older than the town itself, the teacher who sang old folk songs at recess. She realized that every person, no matter their journey, added something precious to the tapestry of America. She saw the courage it took for newcomers to plant roots in unfamiliar soil, the persistence of farmers bent over fields in the early dawn, the resolve of activists who marched for justice, the generosity of neighbors who shared what little they had. She saw the way music, food, art, and language braided together, creating something vibrant and ever-changing. At school, Maya began to notice the patches in her classmates' lives. There was Emma, whose grandparents had come from Ireland, bringing stories of green hills and rain. Jaden, whose mom was a doctor from Nigeria, and whose dad cooked the best barbecue in town. Sophia, whose family spoke Spanish at home and celebrated with bright piñatas. Samir, who wore a kippah and shared stories of ancient traditions. Maya realized that each person carried a patch, whether or not it showed on the outside. Some patches were bright and celebrated. Others were quiet, barely visible, stitched from struggle or loss. But together, they made something strong and beautiful, something worth treasuring. On days when the town gathered, at parades, picnics, and festivals, Maya saw the patchwork come alive. People brought dishes from every corner of the globe, old songs mixed with new rhythms. Children played games their grandparents had taught them. Flags waved, not just red, white, and blue, but all the colors of the quilt. Sometimes voices clashed, opinions differed, tempers flared, and seams in the patchwork strained. But always, Maya remembered Nana's wisdom. Not perfect, but held together by hopes, stitched with sacrifice, and warmed by unity. In difficult times, when storms toppled trees or sickness swept through town, the patchwork flag took on new meaning. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers became friends, and hands reached out to mend what was torn. The quilt grew stronger, its seams stitched tighter by kindness and shared struggle. As Maya grew older, she added her own patch to the family quilt, a square of bright yellow, embroidered with a sun and mountain peaks. It told the story of a girl who asked questions, who listened to stories, who learned that America was not just a place or a flag, but a story made of many people, working together to create something greater than themselves. She stitched her patch next to the denim square from the railroad, the cotton from the choir dress, the green from the soldier's uniform. She added her dreams to those of her ancestors and neighbors, her hopes for a country that could always grow kinder, wiser, and more just. And as the quilt passed from hand to hand, generation to generation, it became a living flag, a reminder that the heart of America was not found only in symbols or ceremonies, but in the everyday acts of courage, kindness, and unity that stitched people together. Maya learned that the flag at school, with its stars and stripes, was an important symbol, a reminder of ideals worth striving for. But the patchwork flag at home, with its mismatched pieces and hidden histories, was just as powerful. It celebrated the truth that America's strength lay not in sameness, but in diversity, in the courage to welcome new stories, the humility to mend old wounds, and the wisdom to cherish every patch, no matter how small. In time, Maya became a storyteller herself. She shared the tale of the patchwork flag with her friends, her classmates, and eventually with her own children. The story grew, spreading from town to town, city to city, until children across the land imagined their own patchwork flags, each one unique, each one precious. Somewhere, on a quiet evening, a child would curl beneath a quilt stitched by loving hands, listening as a grandparent traced the seams and spoke of journeys, struggles, and dreams. In the hush that followed, the child would understand. America was a patchwork, a story still unfolding, a hope still alive. And so, the patchwork flag endures, not just in fabric and thread, but in the hearts of those who believe in the power of stories, the beauty of diversity, and the promise of unity. For the true flag of America is not just a banner raised to the sky, it is a living story, sown from the dreams, sacrifices, and hopes of all who call this land home. America isn't just a place or a flag, it's a story made of many people working together to create something greater than themselves. Like a patchwork quilt, it is imperfect, ever-changing, and infinitely precious, warmed by unity, stitched with sacrifice, and held together by hope.